everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Chris's Classic Cinema. And this episode, it's another Wisconsin legend. I'm Chris Wired.
And I'm Jayden Sparks.
So, for the past few episodes, we've looked at Wisconsin celebrities. We looked at big stars like Spencer Tracy, Donnie Mishi. Now we're going to look at a Wisconsin legend that's, well, he's not as recognized as others, but he is in his own class.
He is in his own class, and the movies themselves are actually really well done and are really incredibly underrated in their own film genres.
Yes. Now the actor we are talking about is Fred MacMurray, who was born in Illinois, but when he was still an infant, they moved him up to Beaver Dam. So that does technically make him a Wisconsin native. Plus his parents were from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Now Fred MacMurray was I found out that he actually was a student at the Carroll University in Waukesha.
Very well credited university with all of its own credentials to speak of.
I mean, it is a private college, so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he started his film career just when silent movies were ending. If I recall, according to Wikipedia, one of the first films he did was back in 1929. He didn't get a major film role until the mid-1930s. One of his first big roles was with Katharine Hepburn in a drama called Atlas Adams. Now also Fred MacMurray is known for being in some very popular live-action Disney films from the 50s and 60s. Some examples include The Shaggy Dog, The Absent-Minded Professor, and its sequel, Son of Flubber, The Happiest Millionaire, Charlie and the Angel. He was even the first person to be named a Disney legend. So, but we're not doing any of his Disney movies. I mean, the fact is, they were in a class all on their own. In fact, he even earned a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor for The Absent-Minded Professor. That was like the only major film. That was like the only major film award he was nominated for. He wasn't nominated for any Oscars. Now, the films we are looking at they vary very much. I mean, there's dramas, there's comedies, there's film noir, there's a war drama.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell that he has a lot of talent when it came to being in these movies, and how versatile he is with each genre. So with that, we're going to start off with our first film. Now, we're going back to 1944, was what is considered the definitive film noir. Now, this film is known for being like one of the greatest films ever, and it's like one of the main blueprints for what makes a film noir as iconic as this. The film, Double Indemnity. In Los Angeles, an insurance salesman is seduced by a woman to not only murder her husband, but also to help get the insurance money claimed, and since he is killed, it would be marked double indemnity, which means that he could double it.
Mm-hmm. A rarity in the insurance world at the time.
Yes. And he also finds that he's starting to question he's starting to question why he did this in the first place, and if it's very psychological as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I gotta say, this movie was very interesting.
Very, very interesting. Very messy is the word I would say. It's a very, and the thing that kind of really ties together the messiness was the narration throughout the film.
Yes, this movie is told through flashbacks, but it does make you wonder, why would this guy do such a horrible thing?
Love and money. It's as simple as that.
I wouldn't call it love. I call it lust.
Ooh, yeah, it is a film noir. It would be that, wouldn't it?
And 1944 was a big year for film noirs. I mean, there were many of those released that same year. Other examples I could think of were some that I saw in college, like the iconic film noir Laura with Dana Andrews and Gene Tierney. Mm-hmm. I also saw a very good film noir called Phantom Lady with Francois Thoms. And I thought those movies, I didn't really know about film noirs, but I saw why they are very iconic to this day.
They are very iconic. I'm personally not a huge fan of them, but with a movie like this one, this was a first for a lot of. This basically was the blueprint for a lot of film noirs, even in '44.
I mean, you have this key elements. You have a femme fatale who seduces a man to be her lover. You have very dark cinematography.
Oh yes, with pushing what the lighting, pushing the exposure and what a camera could do for lighting, really pushing that into the edge. Not to mention the Venetian blinds. So we got the vertical shadow bars. So you got the Venetian blind lighting.
Yes.
This was the first movie to do that.
Yes. Now let's talk about the cast.
Yes.
You have Fred MacMurray as the insurance salesman, and he's seduced by a woman played by Barbara Stanwyck.
Mm-hmm.
The woman, Phyllis Dietrichson, who is actually named by the American Film Institute as one of the top 10 greatest movie villains ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she's basically a black widow. She's willing to kill, not only is she willing to kill her husband, but she's also willing to seduce anyone to help her do it.
Oh yeah, and for the first part of the movie, you wouldn't even know that she was the villain. It wasn't until the daughter came along and was like, "Hey, something's going on. I implore you to look a little deeper."
Her stepdaughter, played by Lena Heather. And when it comes to Fred MacMurray, you can see how torn he is. I mean, you can tell that he wants to be with her, but he also knows that what he's doing is morally insane.
Oh yeah, but $100,000 is even today $100,000 is nothing to scoff at, and back then, oh my gosh.
I mean, with that amount of money, you could start a whole new life.
Whole new life and never work a day again.
And then you also have the guy who he works with, Edward, played by Edward G. Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who he confesses to about it.
The numbers guy.
Yes. He's the guy that suspects foul play when it comes to the suicide.
Yeah, and the thing is, they both have been working together for 15 plus years, and you could tell that basically discounted Fred MacMurray for the majority of the film, the entire time, because there's no way, right? They've been friends for so long, and it just was too clean.
Yeah. And when it comes to Edward G. Robinson's performance, I think he did an amazing job.
Such a good job. I loved the scene where they were in the office and he just starts rattling off statistic after statistic, right after one after the other.
And this wasn't, and he was known for doing a lot of crime films.
Yeah.
Yeah. And funnily enough, he was actually when it comes to Edward G. Robinson, one of the characters I know him as is one of the most despicable guys I can think of. He played that one guy in Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments who he's basically a nasty guy in that movie.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this film, he's definitely the kind of guy that you want on your side. He is willing to solve the case.
No matter the cost, and we'll work through the night to do it too.
Yeah. And then you have the stepdaughter, played by Lena Heather. You can tell that how much she can't stand her. She knows that her stepmother is not who she appears to be.
And not only that, but having her own boyfriend getting framed for the crime, basically.
Yes, and you tell how miserable she is. I mean, she's practically an orphan by the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't help but want to help her out.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate scenario that she's found herself in. And overall, I think that the set design and costume design were way up there.
Well, it was very modern for that time.
Extremely modern.
I mean, it was 1944. It was at the peak of World War II.
And not to mention, the writing was done incredibly well, despite the Hays Code. The Hays Code really mucked about with how the story was put together, because it was based on a novel originally that came out in '41.
And when it comes to the director, Billy Wilder, I mean, you can tell how much he wanted to make this as faithful to the source as possible.
But it was extremely difficult to because of the Hays Code.
Yes, but when it came to Billy Wilder, he was known for always being a guy who couldn't stand the Hays Code.
Who could?
Well, I mean, one of his most iconic films is the 1959 comedy Some Like It Hot. think about how groundbreaking that was at that time. It basically,
Shattered the code.
yes. In fact, we're going to be reviewing another one of his movies in this episode.
Yeah. But overall,
Well, when it comes to cinematography too, for Double Indemnity, I mean, it is just amazing.
it is.
It's just pure film noir at its peak.
It is, and that's almost a detriment, especially since film noir has been done so many times, and even been joked about so many times and parodied.
Yeah, I mean,
A lot of the key features that we're talking about, while we're celebrating in this film, was made fun of in almost every other film that came after, and parody that came after. So it almost suffers from even though it is a patient zero of film noir, it's still one of hundreds of films that came after it. It shares the field with hundreds of other film noir films. So if you're into film noir, fantastic movie. You should go for it. But if you're like me and you're not really into it that much, it's difficult to justify watching it when there are so many others.
I can't argue with that. I mean, it was during the 40s when they really, skyrocketed.
Exactly. So I think that's the only
Yeah.
thing that's wrong with this movie is that while it is a first and therefore has some provenance behind it and weight behind it, it is a noir film, and there are literally hundreds of those.
And by the end of the 1950s, you didn't see a lot of them anymore, especially since a lot of studios were converting to color.
Mm-hmm. Which was, when it comes to black and white film, a noir can only really be done in black and white.
I mean, noir is the French word for black.
Exactly. Because even in today's world, a lot of modern noir films sometimes opt for black and white simply because the sharp contrast and the shadows still work better in black and white than it does in color. So some people will use black. So noir was one of those films that actually was like film genres that's like prefers an older technology because it is a superior format for the story and the mood it tries to set.
Yeah, well, I honestly can't think of any modern film noirs that could be like that. You don't see a lot of those nowadays.
No, you don't. Not unless it's a parody.
That I can agree with. Now, when it comes to this film, I recall it was a hit at the box office,
Mm-hmm.
and it did receive 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director. Barbara Stanwyck was nominated for Best Actress.
Mm-hmm.
It was also nominated for the screenplay and the cinematography. Plus, it was also nominated for the music, done by Miklos Rosa.
Really good music.
And he would later be known for making music scores for big epic films. He won an Oscar for doing the music for the 1959 Best Picture Ben-Hur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually one of the longest soundtracks ever done for a film.
Well.
Now, when it comes to this film, the American Film Institute gave it a lot of love.
Oh yeah.
It was named one of the top 30 greatest films of all time. It was also named one of the top 100 most thrilling movies of all time, as well as one of the top 100 most romantic movies. And like I said, Barbara Stanwyck's performance as Phyllis was named one of the top 10 greatest villains of all time. That's right up there with some of the big ones like Darth Vader, the Wicked Witch of the West, Hannibal Lecter, Norman Bates.
Mm-hmm.
So that shows how iconic her role as this definitive femme fatale is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to this film, I'm going to give it, for a rating, 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, you're not far off from me. I was going to give it 3.5. I'm only giving it a 3.5 because it's a noir film. There are hundreds of them, but it is the first noir film. Well, not the first, but the first to have a lot of the key features that you would associate with a noir film.
Yeah, I agree. And you can watch this, and this can be found anywhere: DVD, Blu-ray,
YouTube.
Streaming.
YouTube. Yep, I watched it on YouTube. It's very easy to acquire.
And this is definitely one of those. And I know that recently, back in 2020, the New York Magazine named this one of the top 100, one of the best films to not win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think this movie should have won Best Picture for 1944. It was given to a sort of a comedy drama called Going My Way with Bing Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But still, when it comes to this film, I mean, my God, I thought it was really... It just keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It was really good. It is good for what it is.
Yes. So that was Double Indemnity. Now for our next film, we're doing a complete 180 with a comedy. And this comedy was made in 1947, and it was actually sort of the pilot for a long movie series. I'm talking a series of 9 films. Now, this film was actually based on a memoir that takes place based from a woman in the state of Washington. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, I honestly got a few good laughs out of it.
I don't know how. I get it, but I know how. It's got some good slapstick.
Now, the film is called The Egg and I. In the state of Washington, a married couple moves from a city to the countryside where they buy an old rundown chicken farm. And of course, anything bad that can happen, but along the way they make friends with the local neighbors. They find themselves in some very weird situations. Meanwhile, the lady's just trying to keep her marriage from basically blowing up.
So, Chris?
Sound familiar?
So, Chris, I have a question for you. Who are the neighbors?
Ma and Pa Kettle.
Yeah, it's a Ma and Pa Kettle film.
Well, this was technically the film that introduced them. Then they would get their own series of 9 films up until the late 1950s.
Yeah, this is go on.
And I know the story sounds like basically the pilot for the TV. I'm pretty sure a lot of you would think that, okay, this sounds just like the show Green Acres.
I would say it's more of the inverse of what happens when you take the Beverly Hillbillies and then, do it the reverse.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but still, I honestly thought, considering this is based on a memoir, I thought this really shows like how crazy it could be trying to...
I mean, it's got some good slapstick in it, I'll give you that. It's got some decent slapstick for the time, which of course, back then, stunts and everything like that were always cutting edge, and they threw safety out the window for that to make it all the more authentic.
And when it comes to Fred MacMurray, he'd actually was in a film like over 10 years earlier with his co-star Colbert.
Yeah.
So this isn't the first time they were together.
No, but I do feel like that the story itself was incredibly dry and incredibly boring. It was a hard watch, especially since it is a Ma and Pa Kettle movie. So it is a family movie. So it is a very slow family movie that anybody can watch, but you'd have to have a certain level of expectation when going into it. It's supposed to be very, very clean, very, very, very clean humor, very...
And when it came to the memoir, it was actually a bestseller when it was first published.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And it really helped make this film very popular. If I recall, this movie was actually the second highest-grossing film in 1947.
Oh yeah, well, the part of the reason for that is because going back to the Hays Code, it is as clean as a movie as it gets. So a lot of conservative America really, really liked this movie because of how clean it was.
Yeah. With that, let's talk about the cast. Mm-hmm. You have the main couple, Bob and Betty, played by Claudette Colbert and Fred MacMurray.
And you could see Fred MacMurray's character being always optimistic the entire time. But then Betty, of course, is like trying really, really hard
not to crack.
yeah, not to crack. Exactly.
I honestly thought Claudette Colbert did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I honestly think she should have gotten an Oscar nomination for this role because I think she nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can tell, like, not only does she have to deal with the stress of starting a whole new life in basically the most pathetic farm you can imagine, but she also has to deal with everything that can go wrong. I mean, she has this very old stove that basically backlashes at her every chance she gets. She also has this very... She also...
Is the phone line hooked up?
I don't know. There's also this dog that was supposed to be a hunting dog, but it turns out to basically be a wimp.
Yeah.
And And then, of course, you have the neighbors, Ma and Pa Kettle.
Being Ma and Pa Kettle.
Yes, and they are just the most, they are basically straight out of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Exactly. And then, of course, not to mention the really affluential rich woman that lived nearby as well.
Yes, and Betty would actually end up getting jealous of her because not only of the farm, but she thought that she was trying to seduce her husband.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Certainly came off that way.
Yeah, and now when it comes to Ma Kettle, the woman who played her, Marjorie Main, I mean, you can tell, like, she's basically as down-to-earth as a woman can get.
Mm-hmm.
They have like over a dozen kids, and she is like the friendliest neighbor that you could possibly have.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And surprisingly enough, the performance was so good, it even earned Marjorie Main an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's that good.
It is really, really good. I mean, it is good in the sense of for what it was. And again, it is a family-friendly comedy film that everybody can watch. I found the story to be a bit dry and a bit overdone because there are a lot of other films that are a bit more contemporary that I feel do a better job of take city folk, put them in rural life, and watch mayhem ensue.
Yeah, I mean, think about how popular the series Green Acres was. Look at how long that ran.
Well, I was referring to Funny Farm with Chevy Chase.
Oh. Yeah, well, another thing I could think, there's other characters in this movie too. I mean, you have that traveling salesman who basically who's basically desperate to sell something to Betty.
Oh, yeah.
And you think that he would, and when it comes to, you think that he was, all I can think of, is he Mr. Haney, is he like Mr. Haney's cousin?
Could be. Could be.
And you have other, and when it comes to, and when there's other characters who like one of the Kettle's son, the eldest Kettle's son. Well, the eldest son of the Kettles is trying to, wants to go to college. He wants to get an education. He just doesn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And Betty's actually willing to help him get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to this film, I mean, the slapstick is, like she said, it's amazing.
It's good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's to what to be expected, you know? It is a lot of the tips and tricks that were used in the 20s and 30s from the greats were applied to this film.
I mean, when it came to that scene with the tree, I mean, the guy thinks that it's gonna fall one way, but it ends up falling right on the chicken coop.
Right out of AFE. Right out of an AFE short.
America's Funniest Home Videos, if you don't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, man.
still, it's just...
Right out of it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and then the way she, like, talks back to the stove whenever it's sort of basically fumes at her.
We had a difficult stove at my house for a little bit, and I remember much more colorful words being, talked about in the stove at my parents' place once in a while.
Yeah, but still. And then when it comes to production design, they just wanted to make the house basically look like the most rundown place you could imagine.
Oh my God. I'm pretty sure I found outhouses down in the deep south that were better than that.
You think nowadays I'm pretty sure a house like that would only be like about $2.
No, I mean, a house like that would be condemned. You wouldn't be allowed to live in that. It would come with another much nicer house, just kind of off in the weeds somewhere in the back of the property.
But you do see like how much they actually fix up the house as the movie progresses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like 3/4 of the way in, it actually does feel like a very comfortable house.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then they also have to deal with other troubles, like there was even the scene with the forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
And it does show like how much heart the neighbors actually had for the couple, because even when they were basically thought they were on the verge of giving up, the neighbors were willing to do all they could to help fix it back up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also when it comes to this, when it comes to Claudette Colbert's character, the movie is centered mainly around her and just the insanity that she's going through with this lifestyle.
And just really trying hard to keep it together. I'll tell you right now, if a future husband of mine tried that on me, I'd divorce them. Like, there would have to be a really long conversation before you have to drag me out of the city.
I mean, when it comes, I mean, and like I said, and like she said, there's also the thought of that other lady thinking that
Oh
she's
my
going to
God.
seduce her husband.
Oh my God.
When Betty thinks that it's actually happening, you can see that she's basically, I'm out. She's literally writing on the wall in paint, I'm through.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good. That was kind of good.
Yeah, but it all works out in the end, and like I said, considering this is based on a memoir, I'm like, okay, the fact that this actually happened, that's insane.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is a mom and pop kettle film.
Yeah, and like I said, this was the second highest grossing film in 1947. And it was a big hit, considering the money back then. That shows like how big a hit it was for that time.
Yeah.
And 1947 was the year of other big greats like Miracle on 34th Street, The Bishop's Wife, Gentleman's Agreement, the film that won Best Picture. And like I said, Marjorie Main was even nominated for Best Supporting Actress for playing Ma Kettle.
So what do you think you'd give this movie? Because I feel like we're going to be completely different.
I am giving this 4 out of 5 stars. I honestly think you should see this at least once, because I thought this was a really good comedy.
I'm going to hard disagree. I'm giving it 1.5.
What?
As I say, it is a family-friendly mom and pop kettle movie. And I'm not a huge fan of mom and pop kettle movies. And
May I ask why?
Because I feel like that they follow a lot of the same formulas. It's a lot of the too samey. So if you've seen one mom and pop kettle film, you've seen them all. And not only that, but I did feel, again, that the story was a little dry and was very campy. So it's a very cookie-cutter story where it's just, you take two city slickers and you put them in the rural's life, and then anything that can go wrong will. That's the entire story of the movie.
Yes.
So the story itself has no real substance behind it, and it's a mom and pop kettle movie.
And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually the inspiration for the TV sitcom Green Acres.
Yeah, plus it's like peak Hays Code movie too, so there really is like nothing to it really. There's like nothing that I can really say, wow, that's really compelling, or wow, that's really groundbreaking. It wasn't groundbreaking, it just, there's nothing really to go for. It's like, oh, it's the first mom and pop kettle film. That's cool, I guess, but mom and pop kettle films haven't really aged the best.
Yeah.
Unless you're into that kind of comedy, which a lot of people are. You know, you gotta, like you say, it was a very popular film. And the Mom and Pop Kettle franchise was a really big hit at the time. It's just, nowadays it's a little bit, it's aged poorly.
The other kind of, it's actually the closest thing to like the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, and as I said, there are other films that kind of do, I feel like, a much better job with this trope. And, you know, I mentioned Chevy Chase's Funny Farm. That's a really good movie, and that's a little bit more contemporary, and has what I think is a little bit better writing.
Okay.
That follows the same trope and formula.
Well, personally, I think you should see this at least once, just to state your own opinion. So that was The Egg and I. For our next film, we're going to head to 1954 with a film that actually takes place in World War II.
Yeah.
Now, this film was actually based on a book that won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, and it was a big bestseller of its time.
Oh yeah, very controversial for its time too.
And this features a very big cast, and some pretty big names. Not only Fred MacMurray, but you also have Humphrey Bogart, Jose Ferrer.
So the film that we're going to be talking about is, of course, The Cane's Mutiny.
The Cane Mutiny.
The Cane Mutiny. So, a young ensign has just been assigned on the USS Cane as a naval officer, and is finding himself helping to run this really worn-out, ragged ship. New captain comes along and is a little dicey, and so throughout the film, all the other officers begin to turn on the new captain, and then you get to see the court process behind it.
Now, this film was really interesting.
Very interesting, very controversial. Very controversial, because when this movie was filmed and came out, the U.S. War Department did not care for it too much because it showed a side of war that a lot of people weren't really willing to talk about yet, because this is the early 1940s, and this is the early 1950s, I'm sorry, where a lot of people were still romanticizing the victory of World War II.
And considering it's the early 50s, I mean, this was right off the heels of the Korean War.
Exactly. So it's difficult to, this movie had some difficulty getting out the door. It did get out the door, and it was a fantastic film. But the thing that I really liked is the anxiety, the amount of anxiety that the captain, which the name slips my mind.
Quaig.
Captain Quaig.
Played by the legendary Humphrey Bogart.
And fantastic job. The nervousness with the balls. You can see the amount of nerves that he has and the anxiety that is racking through his brain, especially with the way he plays with the balls kind of haphazardly.
And there are people that think that he is mentally unstable to be the captain.
Well, and it's kind of easy to see why. He was in the Atlantic for quite a number of months, doing captaining ships for many months nonstop in the Atlantic during the war, and then went over to the Pacific. So definitely war battered.
And then you have Fred MacMurray, who plays the guy that starts to question his sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And he convinces another officer who's basically to actually try to
Mutinize.
resign, make the captain relieve him of his duty.
Exactly. So, and this really comes into a head. Well, we wouldn't go into it, but it does come into a headway where eventually, the captain does, just completely freezes up, and the rest of the.
They're like, this is the last straw. You're relieved of duty. We're taking over.
Exactly, and of course that sort of action has a lot of weight and precedent behind it. I mean, mutiny is a very, very serious crime.
I mean, the only other famous one I can think of is the famous mutiny on the Bounty. I mean, even in the movie, they were comparing him to Captain Quaid to Captain Bligh.
Yeah, and seeing the courtroom process behind it and how serious and heated it got at times. I mean, an interesting factoid is that, it actually was the longest distance
Courtroom scene.
I think over 900 feet.
Huh. Yeah.
Which is insane. That's like a football field.
And then you have other characters too. I mean, you have the ensign, Willie Keith, who is the new guy.
Mm-hmm.
He also thinks he's found the girl to be who he wants to marry.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell, like, he is torn between wanting to do his duty but do the right thing.
He's also torn between family and, of course, his new girlfriend.
Because you can tell how much love he has for his mothers, but you can tell that he also wants to be with his girlfriend.
Exactly, and of course, war is war. So, being able to spend time with your loved ones was probably the greatest rationing that most soldiers were experiencing.
I sadly found out that when it came to the guy who played Willie, unfortunately he died a year later after this movie was released in a plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a shame that he didn't get a very, very big career, because I thought he did a really good job.
Oh, he did an amazing job. And again, the movie really illustrates
the stress
that it can rack on basically anybody in any rank of a ship.
Yeah, when it comes to like the whole scene with the typhoon, you can see just how they are trying to make sure the ship stays in one piece.
Which was already struggling to do that to begin with.
And next you know, things fall apart, and they decide we have to choose. Do we listen to this guy, or do we do it ourselves? Or do we? It's either him or the ship.
Basically. Which he himself said that in the beginning of the film. There is the right way, the wrong way, the Navy way, and then my way. And we're going to be doing it my way. Literally that was his opening. That was Captain Quaid's opening line when he walks into the naval captain, to the officer's captain, the officer's mess.
And when it comes to that one guy too, you can tell like how much, when it comes to the guy that Fred MacMurray convinces, you can tell how much he is starting to question how capable the captain is. He's literally looking at books of mental disorders.
Yeah.
And he's logging up like everything crazy that he does. Like the captain interrupts a movie midway because he's like, I didn't want you guys watching westerns. No movies for 30 days.
Yeah.
And then that whole famous thing with the strawberries.
Oh yeah, the strawberries.
Yeah, he thinks that people in the mess took some gifted strawberries for themselves, and he basically is willing to ransack the entire ship to find what he thought was a second key to where the strawberries were when there wasn't even any.
No.
Wasn't any key.
No key. Guy was there were several points in the movie where even the audience would have to question whether or not he really was truly insane. And I think he was. I think that he was just a bit too war-tattered and was put on the Minesweeper ship because the Minesweeper ship was on its last legs as it is. So it wasn't like a key part of the war effort or anything, but it was kind of like a lesser part that made frequent trips back to
San Francisco.
San Francisco. It would end up basically frequenting trips between San Francisco and Pearl Harbor, and sometimes would go into the Pacific Theater, but not that often.
Now, when it comes to the ship they used, they actually used a real ship for some of the scenes.
They did use a real ship, but it was too new. It was too new, because in the original novelization of the film, the Minesweeper was a ship that was built during World War I, not World War II.
Oh,
so
I honestly didn't know that.
Yeah, so the ship that was used in the film was actually a little new, and actually I think had either one too many smokestacks or one too few smokestacks. I can't remember.
And they also had some amazing aerial shots of the ships too.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, there was that shot of the aircraft carrier, and you literally see the thousands of sailors on the runway
on the deck,
and it gives it that sense of epic scale.
Yes. Now, however, one thing to consider is that it is a war film from the 50s, so there will be a lot of stock footage. So some of it may not have been original to the film. A lot of it could have just been repurposed films from other movies and or the war itself.
That is true, but still, when it comes to they also use like very good special effects for the typhoon scene.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can tell that there are some shots where you can tell it's a model ship, but it still gives you that sense of they are in very big danger.
Oh yeah.
And also when it comes to the cinematography, I mean, it's very bright. It's unlike I think it's very.
It holds up.
Yeah, I mean,
it holds up incredibly well.
I mean, it was 1954, and this was still when color cinematography was really starting to basically.
It was still experimental. Like, they were still experimenting with the aspect ratios and the color methods. Like, Technicolor was still, there was either VistaVision or Technicolor, and they were still experimenting with a lot of different formats. Yeah. A lot of different film companies were coming up with the new thing, the latest and greatest in color and and widescreen and all that.
And then you have the music score done by Max Steiner.
Oh yeah.
And it's very, you can tell it's basically makes you feel like you're in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this film was a big hit at the box office.
Oh yeah.
If I recall, it was the second highest grossing film of 1954, right behind White Christmas, which we already reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
And it received 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Humphrey Bogart, Best Original Score, Best Screenplay. Surprisingly, Fred MacMurray didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. The nomination actually went to a guy that had a very short role in the film, Tom Tully, who played the original captain of the ship right at the beginning and the end of the movie. Mm. It was a very short role. Mm-hmm. I only counted for maybe I don't know.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
If that.
But personally, I think Fred MacMurray should have been nominated.
Right. Well, it does go and show that Fred MacMurray, while he was a very competent actor for his day, He's also standing within the ranks of Humphrey Bogart and other great actors of the 40s and 50s.
Well, surprisingly, Humphrey Bogart didn't win Best Actor. He lost to Marlon Brando for the Best Picture winner On the Waterfront. They actually had, when it comes to Marlon Brando and Humphrey Bogart, it was actually sort of a round 2 of a rivalry they had from 3 years prior for Best Actor. Marlon Brando was nominated for the 1951 film A Streetcar Named Desire, but he was beaten by Humphrey Bogart for a film we reviewed, The African Queen.
Yeah.
So basically, it was round 2 for those guys.
Mm-hmm. But again, it kind of showcases what kind of heavy hitters we're dealing with at the time. So it's easy to see why Fred MacMurray can occasionally get shifted into the background sometimes,
And
especially in film history.
It is a bummer that this was one of the last films of Humphrey Bogart because he died 3 years later.
Mm-hmm. Which is a shame because, again, he did such a good job conveying a nervous wreck of a captain.
I honestly believe that when it comes to his character, I think he was also experiencing PTSD.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think there was the PTSD that basically made him psychologically unstable.
Yeah, but again, it was really well done. Because I could feel the anxiety he was experiencing. I could feel it myself because I have an anxiety disorder of sorts.
So do I.
And I could feel, he conveyed it so well that I was getting anxiety. And it was like, dang, that's good.
I mean, even in the trial scene, you can tell that he is on the verge of snapping.
Yeah, and the key indicator was the balls. You know, the steel ball bearings. The more sporadic the pattern was getting, the more nervous he was getting, and he was getting a little bit more chattery, repeating the same lines over and over again of like, it's a very lonely world being the captain of a ship.
I forgot to mention Jose Ferrer as the lawyer who defends the mutineers.
Yeah,
And he doesn't want to be a part of this case, but he's doing it.
he has to. Yeah.
And next thing you know, and then during the final scene, he does this very good monologue of, well, he's drunk. He's basically telling the mutineers that when it comes to their captain, he's not as bad as they thought he was.
No.
And he basically calls out Fred MacMurray's character
Oh yeah.
for being the guy who caused it in the first place.
Oh yeah. Very, very very shallow ending of the movie, but I almost liked that a little bit. It definitely puts everybody in their place.
Yeah. So all in all, what would you rate this film?
4.5.
Me too.
It's a good movie. Darn good.
I think it's one of those World War II movies you just see at least once.
Yeah, it's one of the best World War II films I've ever seen.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to this film, I mean, it was just.
Oh yeah.
And it was actually, and when it comes to the book that it was based on, like I said, it won a Pulitzer Prize. It was also the inspiration for a very popular play adaptation, the Caine Mutiny Court Martial.
Yeah, there have been several adaptations since then too that I kind of want to watch. I want to see what the modern interpretations are like.
Yes, I agree. I mean, recently there was a very popular miniseries based on the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I may want to take a look at that.
I'm debating it.
So that was the Caine Mutiny. Now for our final film, we are going to head to 1960 with another film that was directed by Billy Wilder, the guy who did Double Indemnity. Now this film was groundbreaking, just like the film that was released a year prior to this one, Some Like It Hot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to the film we're reviewing, it ended up actually winning the Academy Award for Best Picture of 1960.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very complicated rom-com and drama.
Oh God, is it complicated?
The film, The Apartment. In New York City, an accountant is basically constantly badgered to letting his superiors rent out his apartment for a night so they can do extramarital affairs with women. One day, he falls in love with an elevator operator who is actually also being noticed by another superior of his.
And has also been having some fun with the superior as well.
Yes.
Very messy.
This film is
Messy.
crazy,
Yeah, it's very messy.
but in a good way, I bet.
Yes. In a good way. It is messy in a good way. Oh boy.
And like I said, this won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same year as some big films like, Psycho, Spartacus, John Wayne's The Alamo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely a shocking film too, because extramarital affairs, even back in 1960,
it was basically taboo.
It was so taboo, and even a woman acknowledging an extreme short haircut, also taboo. You know, back in 1960, women getting their hairs cut that short and having their own careers of their own, very progressive for the time.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, it's like common, but like
Yeah.
back in 1960, a woman cutting her hair that short, almost unheard of.
Now, when it comes to this film, it was very original.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the script was written by the director Billy Wilder,
Mm-hmm.
and not only did he direct it, but he also produced the film.
Mm-hmm. Some really iconic scenes too, especially in like the numbers world. In fact, a lot of the calculator collectors out there like this movie because of how the soundtrack of the movie was integrated into the adding machines used in the accounting department. And remember, this is an insurance firm in New York City, where it's focused on 1 or 2 floors only, the 19th floor, where all the adding machines are being Rolodex, basically.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the cast.
Mm-hmm.
The main character, Jack Lemmon, who is basically the guy he constantly has to give up his apartment to his superiors because they want to basically...
Have some fun.
Yes. And you can tell that he's just... To him, it's the only way to basically get up in the social ladder.
But at the same time, it's taken an emotional toll on him. When I mean emotional, I mean, oh God, a literal physical and emotional toll. Like there were parts of the movie where he was actually sick because he was sleeping on the streets.
Yeah. And then you have the elevator operator, played by Shirley MacLaine.
Very pretty.
Yes, and you can tell that she starts to form a relationship with Jack Lemmon, but she also wants to be in a relationship with the guy played by Fred MacMurray, who is also Jack Lemmon's superior.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, he actually gives Jack Lemmon a promotion.
Yeah.
But he doesn't even know that he is falling in love with the girl that he wants to be with.
Yeah.
He is willing to. He actually is on the verge of divorce with his wife, and he wants to be with her.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too. Throughout the movie, you could see that the 2 main characters, you know, the elevator operator and the accountant that gets the promotion, they form a pretty strong bond themselves throughout the movie. So she ends up having to make a decision a little bit later in the film too.
Yeah.
I won't say what it is.
And then you have other characters too, like you have the neighbor Jack Lemmon's neighbor, played by Jack Kirschman, who happens to be a doctor.
A doctor for a university. I think he was a
Yes.
university professor / doctor.
And you can tell how tired he is of hearing basically the same noise every night.
Not only that, but everybody assumes that
He's a playboy.
That he's a playboy, and man, you go the scene where they basically like, wow, you go at it a lot, sometimes multiple times a day. If you die, can you donate your body to science? We want to study that. Like, wow, good on him.
Yeah, and you also have his wife who can't stand it as well.
No, I wouldn't blame them.
You also have a secretary who is also basically basically a former flirt to Fred MacMurray, and she basically wants payback.
Yeah.
She calls out Shirley MacLaine and basically tells her that he's a womanizer.
Well, not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Now this movie was actually it really surprised me with some scenes because some of them I didn't expect at all.
No, it was a fairly good movie. Again, holds up because a lot of the subject matters behind it is believable, and even today's world. And like I could see a movie like this being made today, quite easily. with a very similar story. Obviously, some of the stuff would have to be different. Like, you know, in the accounting department, nobody uses adding machines anymore. Not the analog ones. You know, so it would have to be replaced by like a bunch of computer cubicles or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, the core story itself is a pretty modern story, if you ask me.
It's also crazy that, and it's also technically a Christmas movie because this takes place around between Christmas and New Year's.
That's like saying Lethal Weapon. That's the Lethal Weapon argument. We're not going there. We aren't going there. Anyways,
Don't you mean Die Hard?
that one too. Well, yeah, Die Hard. Yeah, you're right. I don't watch either of those. I'm not a huge action person.
Yeah. Well, if anything, this movie is still good in its own.
Oh yeah. I love the office scenes too. It really conveys how busy an office can be and how messy office politics can get.
And when it comes to the titular apartment, I mean, it's basically like it makes it look like it's the ultimate getaway in New York City, but it's just this one apartment.
Is this one guy's apartment?
On the west side. It's so random, and yet all it takes is getting the key under the carpet.
Yeah. It's not always there sometimes, though, as we found.
Yeah, but they make it sound like the go-to place of New York City, just to have a night of fun.
Yeah, but it's not. It's some bachelor's apartment that's like, eh. And I love the opening too. The opening is so subtle, you know. It's such a subtle opening for the first couple of minutes, but then within like the first 15 minutes of the movie, you know what's going down. Like within 15 minutes, but then even then, there's still a lot of twists and turns that keep you on the edge of your seat.
I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers or anything.
I'm not giving any spoilers.
Because
watch the movie.
Yeah. When it comes to there's
free
also
on YouTube.
Yeah, there's also some other good things too. I mean, there's the modern costumes. There's the black and white cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the music.
The sound effects being used and integrating into the music. Like I said, the adding machines literally being integrated into the soundtrack.
Yeah. And
it's very subtle. No, most people won't even probably notice that, but it's good.
I also love this isn't like one of those laugh out loud movies, but it's more of a subtle comedy drama.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But that doesn't mean but it's still an amazing film.
I'd say so.
I mean, like I said, it not only did it end up winning the Oscar for Best Picture, it received other Oscars as well, including Best Director, Billy Wilder, Best Original Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Film Editing.
Yeah, and you know, this movie can be found actually quite easily. If you ever want to watch this, it's currently free on YouTube right now if you got YouTube Premium.
Yeah. When it comes to this film, Billy Wilder actually beat Alfred Hitchcock for Best Director for Psycho.
Yes, but Psycho, I would argue that the apartment is a little more family-friendly. Not by much, but a little more family-friendly than the Psycho. But it also kind of speaks to, compare it to mom and pop kettle films that were coming out 15 years prior, right? You can see that the American general public wanted more adult films with more adult subject matters.
And this was when the Hays Codes were starting to dissolve.
Exactly. So you could definitely tell that there was a yearning for more taboo subject matters in film.
Yeah, and when it comes to this...
the top two is Psycho and The Apartment.
Now, when it comes to this film, too, I mean, Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Jack Kruschen all received Oscar nominations.
Mm-hmm.
It also received it ended up winning... It also won 3 Golden Globes for Best Comedy Movie, and Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine ended up winning Golden Globes for their performances.
Mm-hmm.
So at least they weren't completely snubbed. It was actually the second Golden Globe in a row for Jack Lemmon, because he had won the year prior for Some Like It Hot.
Yeah. Again, really showed where the American public's taste was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't for... I think if it wasn't for Some Like It Hot, I don't think The Apartment wouldn't have been made.
No. Well, 7-Year Itch. 14 years?
Oh yeah, the
Marilyn
famous curtain dress scene, the famous dress scene with the over the air vent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would have happened eventually.
Yeah.
I think Marilyn Monroe was kind of
Yeah.
driving force no matter what.
Yeah.
We should do an episode on her one day.
Huh?
We should do an episode on her one day.
Yeah, maybe. So all in all, what would you give this film?
I'm giving it a 4.
Me too.
Just a flat 4.
And like I said, it's not like laugh out loud funny, but
It's good. I think that if you found it on, if you found it, like, if you're rolling through the TV and you happen to see it, like on BTV or something for, like, a movie special, don't change the channel. You stay with it. It's actually kind of good.
yeah, and this is like one of those movies you should see at least once, especially since it won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to Fred MacMurray, it was after this when he started doing more. It was around this time when he was also starting doing more of the Disney films. I mean, like I said, a year prior he was in The Shaggy Dog. A year later, a year after this, The Apartment, he was in The Absent-Minded Professor, which earned him a Golden Globe nomination, the only major film award he was nominated for. And then he would do many films for the next, 20 years. His last film was in 1978 with what is considered one of the worst films ever, Irwin Allen's The Swarm.
I don't know if it's the worst film. Okay, that's gonna be a video.
Yeah. After that, he retired, and like I said, he was named by Disney as their first Disney legend.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, he died back in 1991. But he still had a very good career.
That's a very long career, going back from 1920s to the 1970s. That is 50 years of film, and that's nothing to scoff at. You know, a lot of actors in the film world in Hollywood are lucky to even break out for 20 years, let alone 50.
Yeah. I mean, he started out in very small roles, but they kept getting bigger as the years went on.
Mm-hmm.
So Fred MacMurray, I mean, he may not have been as iconic as, like, say, Spencer Tracy or Don Amici, but he was still an amazing actor in his own right.
Now, on that note, are we going to reveal our next episode subject matter?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so none of these actors are going to even hold close to a candlelight of this other Wisconsin native for the last season finale of Chris's Classic.
Now, this actor you may well know as a certain Candyman. And he was known for many other films too. We even reviewed one of his films, Young Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the incomparable Gene Wilder, which will be our last Wisconsin legend and the season finale for season 2 of this series. So until then, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jayden.
And thanks for watching this special episode of Chris's Classic Cinema. We'll see you next time.